Hey, Hickok 45. One thing y'all asked for after I started asking for immediately after we did the video on the UTS 15 shotgun, bullpup shotgun was, oh man, Hickok, compare that with a KSG. Can you get your hands on a KSG? You know, and of course, a lot of people I think said I probably can't. You know, nobody can find them. They're hard to find. They don't make enough or whatever. Well, we were able to get our hands on one thanks to CDNN Sports and lent us one. So here we have it. We have both firearms, and we're pleased to be able to give you a little bit of a comparison, at least my impressions and what I think about the two side by side. We have fired both of them pretty extensively, and you know, you can reference those videos and see the breakdown and all that sort of thing. But I thought kind of a quick video, just looking at them side by side might be in order. So speaking of that, we have a very tall camera guy. John can kind of show you the size comparison. The UTS 15 is pretty big, isn't it? When you put it beside the KSG, there is a difference. The Turkish gun is a lot larger than it appeared. And if we put it over here on top, you can kind of see it's a thicker gun. Well, I mean thicker, but it has more height to it. The UTS 15, and it's longer. Okay, so we have a bullpup that seemed pretty short, but it's not as short as the KSG. And this gun just seems a lot smaller when you pick it up. It really does, a lot smaller. Now they're both light, they really are. This one is percentage, higher percentage of polymer, and it is light. It's light as well, but it's just bigger. Okay, so let's just go over a couple of things here quickly. You see them in action. The advantage, I think, of this gun for lefties, of course, is that it ejects out the bottom and it's very ambidextrous in just about every way. All right, and this one isn't bad, but you do have your ejection over here on the right side, so that would be a bit of an issue if you're a lefty. You know, they're right there. Maybe not. Maybe it'd work all right. So you've got that issue. The slide release is kind of different on this one. It's back here. You know, you got to get this button pushed back here to release the slide. I'd say the KSG wins hands down on that, of course, because you just push the button. It's right there, right there where your finger ought to be anyway. You know, just perfectly. Your straight finger outside the trigger guard. Can't beat that, and it's ambidextrous, of course. Loading and everything. This one has the mag tubes on top of the barrel. This one has them under the barrel. Maybe there's less felt recoil with that. I don't know. I can't really tell a lot of difference. Let's put a couple of rounds in and let me just show you again. On this one, the KSG, you go from under here. Let's put them on. Let's put a couple of birdshot in the left tube. That's how it loads, as you recall. Now let's do the same thing over here. Let's put a couple of birdshot in the left tube. We're going to give them the rain test. Now you got to push this forward. And then birdshot. All right, let's turn them over, and let's put, what shall we put in? Maybe some double-aught buck in the right tube. So back to the KSG, switch this over, load 2 buckshot in the right tube. Okay, do the same thing here. Open up the hatch, push that forward, and of course they'll hold 7. Except we did discover that the UTS 15 doesn't hold 7 if you're using high brass, at least the ones we have used. Whereas the KGB will, the KSG, it will hold 7 of high brass. Okay, now they're both loaded with 4 rounds. Let's just go ahead and shoot the KSG. Now we're going to use the, let's shoot the birdshot first, the left tube. So I have this selector switch over on the left. That means we're going to be picking up from the left tube, double-aught buck, no, birdshot. Go for the cowboy. All right. Now, we're empty in that tube, right? So I'm going to get a click. Okay? So I need to switch over, and of course I would have switched over before that. And now we get birdshot, or the double-aught buck. We're empty. Okay, so we manually have to switch that over. Okay, with the USG 15, let's rack one in. We got to release the slide back here. Okay, we're picking up. We have this in the middle, So we're going to just pick up everything, I believe. We're going to pick up bird shot first. Safety off. Double aught buck. Bird shot. Double aught buck. So that's one of the advantages of this gun, is it alternates, and it picked up all four without flipping the switch. Okay. And of course you can select either tube. Now we did notice, as you recall, that if it's loaded, we could not select, we couldn't cut off this tube. It just wouldn't move over there. I don't know if that's an aberration and only specific to this particular gun or not. It would move in that direction, if you recall. So that one will alternate. You can shoot to 15, without switching. You can also see very clearly, your rounds, maybe too clearly. Some would consider that a negative, having those magazine tubes that open. Okay. With the KSG, they're not that open. You have holes where you can see the brass when it gets down to a certain level on both sides. And you also have holes up here where you can see once you load it to make sure it's fully loaded. Okay. The safety, you notice I forgot to take the safety off. Safety, I would say this one is really positive. It's fine. Maybe the safety on this wins a little bit in terms of being more like an AR. It's right there at your thumb, and it's very simple to work. It's very easy to work, maybe too easy, but we're used to that, right? The grip feels good on this one, feels fine, and feels fine on this one. Okay. Function, we've really not had trouble, I guess, with either one of them to speak of. Again, bullpup design, you got to be careful not to short shuck them, because you can end up with a malfunction that is really nasty. Maybe at the wrong time. You would want your Glock 27 on your hip, wouldn't you? Now, if you do have a malfunction, this one might be a little bit easier, quicker to clear, because you just lift up the hatch and you can get in there a little bit easier. All right. So that's a plus for this particular gun, isn't it? Even though it's larger, you can lift that up and have access to that pretty quickly. Here, whatever's going on is going on in here. It'd be nice if that would lift up, wouldn't it? But you're just going to have to turn it over and clear it, So maybe a little slower on the clearing of malfunctions, depending on what's going on with it. All right. But avoid that by not short shucking. Of course, you got your rails on both guns. One advantage maybe of the bigger gun is you don't have the trigger guard in the way of your hand. You can get a hold of that just like you can a Remington 870 or something, and it's not an issue. There's plenty of room. I don't like that release back there. I was reaching for it up here. You have all the nice features, of course. You can your laser, your flashlight button there, and everything. And I believe those are available for the KSG. I'm not as familiar with that. Both work. I would say if you want a bullpup shotgun like this, the size, it might come down to size and then how you think it feels in your hands, because this is a pretty cool gun, there's no doubt about it. But after having shot the KSG, it just seems so much larger to me. It really does. You might see that as an advantage. You really might. If I'm going to have a bullpup, though, I think I just soon have it as small as I can have it. Just the way it is. If I can, provided I can shoot it well and it's shootable. So both are pretty cool guns and offer a lot of capacity. And it could come down for your decision if you're contemplating one or the other. Maybe the fact that this one alternates between magazine tubes. I don't know if you think that's really important, but it is a large gun, very large. And it actually, of course, who pays the MSRP for any of these guns anymore, because you can't find them, right? So they tend to sell for a higher price than what they're really supposed to. So it's kind of hard to talk price, but we can do that. I think this one retails, the KSG, for around $800, supposed to. And this one I think is supposed to retail for around $12, so it's a more expensive, firearm. Okay. So interesting guns, both of them. I would have thought initially, having shot this one first, that, and many of you made that remark, and you may still hold to that, that, wow, that's cool, better than that piece of junk KSG. I mean, there were comments to that effect, on our video. Still there, I guess. And I can't take issue with that, because I didn't know really. But after having shot this thing a lot, this it's a solid little gun. It really is. And I'm not easy to please. You know that. I mean, I do tend to like a lot of guns, and I know everything I shoot, you tell me I like it because I love to shoot. If it shoots, it works. I probably enjoy having fun with it, right? But this little gun, it's one I might want. I don't know. I don't know if it'll replace my Remington 870 or my Mossberg 590, but there's a place for it, and it works. It seems solid. So both interesting firearms, and if I had to buy one today, I'd probably buy the KSG. I'll be honest with you, but both are pretty cool, and they're both 12 gauge. They hold a lot of lead, and neither one can you hate, right? Life is good.